In this video, we're looking at the Dragon Communion Incantations, where you can turn into a dragon's head and do different types of damage: fire, ice, magic, rot, poison, and then there's straight up normal damage, and I think lightning as well. So there's a variety of options for this, right? So this is incredibly effective against dragons themselves. So much like this dragon over here and us on Torrent, you can use Torrent and do the breath while you're walking around on the horse, which is fantastic. This is a great way to play the game and use these spells or incantations against your enemies without actually worrying about being on foot, because these spells don't really give you a lot of maneuverability when you're just standing on your feet. You can't walk around at all. Some of these incantations work incredibly well, like Agheel's Flame, for example. I don't know if it's just this dragon, but it deals an insane amount of damage. That was 12,000 damage very, very quickly, a little too easily, but some of the other incantations are not as strong, or they're very dependent on what the enemy is weak to. So it's a very situational kind of thing. But luckily you have different types, like this one is a rotten one here, but we're fighting a dragon that's actually going to be using magic attacks against us. I feel that the magic ones are the weakest, but also I'm not catered to buffing my magic damage. This one here is the lightning one that I was talking about that spews the golden thing. This is probably the strongest one out of all of them. In this build specifically, since we have a lot of faith, I'm using a kind of like a fire buff thing, so a lot of the fire ones like Agheel's Flame or Dragon Fire are my strongest incantations here that I'm using the most, which seem to be the most effective, compared to like stuff like Rot here, which seems a little too slow, or the Dragon Ice Breath, which does kind of put on frost on the enemy, but apart from that, it's not heavily damaging. At least I didn't experience that in a way. But you can always reset with fire and then go straight into the frost again if you want to keep recycling different moves. The only problem is that you really have to deal with the loading time of doing the actual breath. Now, because finger seals are so light, I can also use Blasphemous Blade, which is personally my favorite weapon in the game, and even the Magma Blade as extras, right? There's also two other kind of dragon moves here. One where you actually turn into a dragon head and you bite the enemy, and it does stagger or poise damage. And there's also one where you do like an open-handed smack, right? So to show you against normal enemies, these breaths are incredibly strong, right? So against great big enemies, you're gonna struggle a bit, but with small enemies, you can just, you know, beat them easily. Like, look at these Clean Rot Knights. Now these guys are usually annoying, but you could just burn straight through them. The breath seems to work best when you're going to kill your enemy before they can strike you, because obviously if you get hit here, you trade a lot of damage, and you have to kind of like do two versions of the breath, and not to mention that they take up a ton of FP to use. That's why I'm bringing out the Blasphemous Blade as a secondary weapon to use if you find your enemies are a little bit too fast, or you can't get off a perfect roll, because obviously these rolls take a lot of time, and they leave you standing in one place for a little too long. But some cases you can use this, like the Dragon Claw that I was talking about earlier, to smack your enemies and just, you know, deal damage straight up in a melee form like this. But it does cost a ton of FP, and I don't think the damage is really worth it. So you can see here we actually have two Dragon Communion Seals, because this is a New Game Plus. This is a Journey 2, right? So these both boost the incantation strength of those dragon breaths. And then we have the Blasphemous Blade, which is obviously, you know, perfect for this faith build. And we also have the Magma Blade as a secondary one that both scale off of faith. You can use either of these or another weapon that scales off of faith. The armor I'm wearing has no specific need to the set. Here are the talismans, greatly raising my potency of incantations. We also have the weaker version of this, which does stack with the main one. We have the Fire Scorpion Charm that raises our fire attack, since we do a lot of that. And then the Shard of Alexander that boosts the Blasphemous Blade, as well as the Magma Blade's special Ash of War attacks that we can do. The Wondrous Physic has a temporary boost to fire attacks, as well as eliminates all FP consumption for a short time, so you can just use as many of those breath spells that you want, especially the more expensive ones. Of course, there are many different types of Dragon Breath spells that you can get here. You can see there's Dragon Fire, there's Agheel's Flame. These are fantastic. Magma Breach is also okay. Theodoric's Magma is great. Glintstone Breath I don't really like, because these are Magic Smarts Glintstone Breath. Both Magic Rotten Breath and Ezek's Decay are okay. Dragon Ice and Borealis' Mist is okay. Plasudidax's Rune is probably the strongest. Dragon Claw is great for melee. Dragon Maw is a good bite. And then we have Grael's Roar, which is just a shockwave around you. Now, if you didn't already know, you need to go to the Dragon Communion kind of churches so that you can buy these spells with dragon hearts by killing certain dragon-like enemies, right? So when you come here and you use a dragon heart, you can purchase what spells you want to purchase, and when you kill certain types of dragons, you will unlock their spells in this area and another church as well. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoy exploring the game and finding these and using them. Let me know in the comments below how you like to use these in your gameplay, and I'll see you guys in a future video. Thank you so much for watching.